They told you money rules the world. They lied. Power rules the world. Money merely obeys. In this video, we strip away the illusion that wealth alone commands respect. You will see how those who chase coins become servants, while those who build power become kings. Look around you. Every empire, every corporation, every hierarchy you admire stands upon invisible thrones built not by gold, but by control. Men kill, betray, and worship for money. Yet the truly cunning understand money is not the throne. It is the servant polishing it. Power is the architect, the force that bends the rich, the poor, and the ambitious alike. And those who understand this law of nature rise, not by greed, but by mastery. Tonight, we uncover how to command the servants of power and how to never become one of them. Power creates value. Money only measures it. Most men confuse the two, and in that confusion, they become slaves to the very system they worship. Think of it this way. Gold was once just metal buried in the earth. It had no meaning, no divinity. It became precious only when powerful men decreed it so. When kings stamped their faces upon coins and declared, "This is worth something." Do you see the illusion? The value of gold was not in its shine, but in the authority behind it. Power gave birth to value. Money merely followed like a loyal dog. Now ask yourself, who defines what you consider valuable today? Is it the entrepreneur who sells? The influencer who speaks? The corporation that advertises? No. It is the power that controls your attention, that dictates what you desire, that convinces you a green piece of paper or a digital number is worth your life's labor. You measure your success in currency because someone more powerful taught you to. Throughout history, power has always been the true currency. When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he didn't do it for money. He did it for control over Rome, over minds, armies, and destiny. Once he seized power, wealth followed. The gold of the treasury bowed before him. And when his enemies tried to bribe soldiers with more money, they failed. Why? Because Caesar's power gave the coin its meaning. His soldiers didn't fight for wealth. They fought for the man who defined what wealth meant. This is the psychological order of the world. Power establishes the hierarchy, money reinforces it. A merchant may have wealth, but he still kneels before the ruler who can destroy it with a stroke of ink. An emperor, however, can be penniless one day and command an empire the next, because his words alone can make men act, obey, and build. Do you still think money rules? Money is merely the shadow of authority. When the throne collapses, so does the value of the coin. Look at any nation in crisis. Its currency dies the moment people lose faith in its power structure. The people don't flee the money. They flee the absence of power. Power is psychological before it is physical. It exists in the mind of others, how they perceive you, how they fear you, how they trust that you can create or destroy what they value. And that perception can create wealth out of nothing. A single word from a powerful man can raise markets. Another can destroy them overnight. Power, therefore, is the root cause. Money is merely the echo. Even in modern life, you see this principle everywhere. The CEO who earns millions does not work harder than the laborer. He simply controls what the laborer's time is worth. The influencer who gains wealth does not sell a product. He sells perception. He manipulates the eyes of the crowd, and from that gaze, value emerges. You might envy his riches, but what you truly envy is the power to make others believe he deserves them. In relationships, in business, even in friendship, this same law applies. The one who sets the rules defines the value. He decides whose time matters, whose voice is heard, whose loyalty is rewarded. And as you play along, thinking you are trading fairly, you are actually trading within a system they built. You measure yourself with their ruler, not your own. The wise understand this and move differently. They do not chase money. They create frameworks where money chases them. They establish authority, shape perception, and make others depend on their influence. Once that foundation is set, wealth flows naturally, because the market bends to power, not the other way around. Have you noticed how some people can lose everything and rebuild it effortlessly? It's not luck. It's not even skill in the ordinary sense. It's the residual power they carry, their network, their name, their command over attention and belief. Power leaves an imprint even when stripped of possessions. A beggar with power in his presence will rise again. A rich man without it will vanish once the storm hits. So ask yourself, which are you building, wealth or authority? Are you collecting money? Or are you defining what others believe it's worth? Because the difference determines whether you'll always be chasing or being chased. In the end, the throne is built from decisions, not possessions. Money serves the powerful like a servant carrying wine. It looks impressive, but the glass is meaningless without the hand that holds it. Power gives direction, purpose, and order to wealth. Without it, gold is dust. And as we move to the next truth, remember this. Those who understand how to shape value itself never worry about losing money, because they own the minds that decide what it's worth. Now let us explore how influence outlasts fortune. Wealth dies with the man who holds it. Influence survives him. The graveyards of history are filled with men who once owned empires of gold. But the ones who shaped thought, emotion, and obedience still rule from the shadows of memory. Fortune fades. Power imprints itself upon the human mind. Consider Alexander the Great. His empire crumbled within years of his death, his treasuries looted, his generals divided. Yet his influence still breathes centuries later. Why? Because he conquered not just land, but imagination. He made the world believe in the idea of the unstoppable man. That idea became immortal. What you must understand is this. Money buys obedience only until a stronger will arrives. Influence, however, binds people even when you are gone. It doesn't need your presence. It lives in the perception you've built, and perception, once embedded deeply enough, becomes reality. Ask yourself, when your wealth disappears, what remains of you? Your car, your house, your titles. They dissolve with time. But if your words shape how others think, if your actions alter their behavior, then you continue to exist inside their decisions. That is real immortality, the psychological kind. Every ruler, every manipulator, every visionary knows this secret control minds, not wallets. A man who depends on fortune must constantly feed it. A man who commands influence can command fortune itself. Consider the church during the Middle Ages. It had no armies, no vast treasuries compared to kings, yet it controlled kings themselves. Because it mastered the soul, it dictated morality, guilt, and salvation, the most valuable currency of all belief. The kings who had gold still knelt before priests who had none. That is the supremacy of influence over wealth. Even in modern times, this truth is unchanged. The billionaire fades when markets shift. But the philosopher, the strategist, the manipulator who shapes the minds of millions, he survives every collapse. Money burns, ideas endure. And the clever use ideas as weapons more lethal than steel. You see, influence begins where wealth ends. When people believe in your authority, they will protect it even when your fortune fails. When they see you as irreplaceable, they will rebuild your throne with their own hands. That is the highest form of control. When others defend your power as if it were their own. The psychology behind this is simple yet brutal. Humans seek meaning more desperately than money. Give them a story to serve, a purpose to believe in, and they will hand over both their loyalty and their fortune. That is why prophets outlast kings. That is why ideologues outlive investors. And that is why the man who shapes minds leaves behind empires carved not in stone, but in memory. Think of it in your own world. How many people chase quick wealth, yet vanish once it's gone? They build nothing beyond their possessions. They never command the deeper layer of influence that makes others need them. But the few who do, they can lose everything today and still have followers tomorrow. Because influence creates dependency. It ties emotion to identity. And once someone's sense of worth is attached to your approval, you own them without force. Influence is not loud. It whispers. It operates through image, narrative, and emotional leverage. You don't tell people what to do. You make them want to do it. You don't show them power. You make them feel powerless without your guidance. That is the art of lasting dominion, and history's most cunning rulers all understood this. Julius Caesar gave bread to the people, but what he truly fed was perception. He staged generosity as theater, so they would love him, not his wealth. When he died, they mourned not the emperor, but the idea of him. And that idea was so powerful it transformed a republic into an empire. So, what are you building right now? A fortune that can vanish in a single crisis, or a force that echoes beyond your lifetime? When you walk into a room, do people see your possessions, or do they feel your presence? Because influence is not what you own, it's what others believe you are capable of. Wealth without influence is a castle built on sand. Influence without wealth, however, can summon new gold from the ashes of ruin. That is why wise men cultivate perception first and possession second. Because the one who controls belief can resurrect fortune at will. Remember this: power secured through fear fades when the fear does. But power built through influence survives even in your silence. And in that silence, others will still speak your words, defend your image, and serve your will. Because the body dies, the name decays, but influence, the true seed of power, never does. Now, let us step further into the illusion and expose why wealth without power becomes a trap of visibility. Wealth without power is the most seductive illusion of the modern age. It makes you feel secure while quietly making you dependent. It blinds you with glitter so you never notice the invisible hand guiding you. You believe you own your wealth, but in truth, your wealth owns you. Look closely at those who rise through fortune alone. They become loud, visible, envied, and exposed. They think their bank accounts make them free, but freedom built on wealth is a cage made of gold bars. You can see through it, but you cannot leave. Throughout history, the powerful have always understood this weakness. They let others chase money while they themselves remain hidden, controlling the systems that decide its flow. The merchant believes he is independent. The ruler knows he is not. The more the merchant earns, the more he must protect, obey, and please those who grant him access. The Medici family in Renaissance Florence mastered this deception. They built immense fortune through banking. But the gold itself was not their weapon. Their true weapon was influence. They financed popes, crowned kings, and funded wars. They understood the banker with gold is replaceable, but the one who controls, who receives it, is untouchable. They didn't seek money. They sought the power that decides where money goes. Now consider your own life. Who controls your income, your opportunities, your reputation? Who can take them away with a single decision? If another person's permission defines your wealth, you are not rich. You are rented property. Money gives the illusion of control because it buys options. But those options are limited by the systems of power you do not own. You can buy luxury, but not loyalty. You can buy attention, but not authority. You can buy pleasure, but never peace of mind. And when a man becomes visible through his wealth, the hunters appear. Governments tax him. Corporations study him. Competitors envy him. He becomes a target of admiration and hatred, an exposed node in a web spun by others. He believes he has risen, yet the web only tightens. Power, however, works differently. Power moves silently. It manipulates without showing its face. The powerful man is not the one flaunting wealth. He is the one deciding how long that wealth will survive. He understands that control over perception is worth more than control over possessions. Ask yourself this: would you rather be the man everyone sees, or the man who decides what they see? The former gets applause. The latter gets obedience. The illusion of wealth without power feeds on your pride. It makes you crave recognition. It whispers that visibility equals victory, but visibility invites dependence. Because once you are seen, you can be targeted, manipulated, and replaced. Psychologically, wealth triggers a dangerous bias, the belief that financial comfort equals safety. In reality, it softens you. You begin to protect what you have instead of expanding what you control. You start living to maintain your image rather than to command your influence. And in that moment, you stop ruling and start serving your possessions. History's greatest downfall stories are not of the poor, but of the rich who mistook money for power. The French aristocracy before the Revolution lived in luxury. but held no control over the hungry masses. When those masses turned, no amount of gold could save their necks from the guillotine. The illusion of wealth blinded them until the blade made them see clearly. Even in the modern world, this law has not changed. Celebrities, influencers, business giants, they rise through money and fame but fall through exposure and manipulation. Their followers, their platforms, their reputations, none of it belongs to them. All of it is leased by power, media, politics, corporations. One scandal, one shift, and their kingdom of wealth collapses overnight. True control does not seek visibility, it orchestrates it. The most powerful people in your society are not the ones you watch on screens, they are the ones who decide what appears there. You see the actors, never the directors. You admire the performance, never the scriptwriter. That is how power survives, by remaining unseen. So ask yourself again, are you building a fortress of wealth or a network of power? Because when the tide of fortune turns, and it always does, those who relied on gold will drown in it. But those who built power will float, carried by the current they once controlled. Never mistake wealth for dominance. Money can decorate a throne, but it cannot defend it. Only power can. And as we move deeper, remember this, those who command the flow of money never need to chase it. They make others chase them. Now, let us explore how power silently controls the current that carries every coin. Money seems to move freely, through markets, hands, and nations, but it never moves on its own. Behind every coin that changes hands, there is an unseen command, a structure of power deciding its direction. Most people believe the economy governs itself. They imagine supply and demand, competition and opportunity as natural forces. They are not. They are instruments. The powerful build systems, and those systems dictate who prospers and who starves. You are told that wealth is earned through hard work and talent. But look closer. How many talented men die poor? How many hard workers remain trapped in debt? Effort alone is irrelevant if you do not control the channels through which wealth flows. Power does not chase money. It designs the rivers that carry it. Consider the Roman Empire. Its rulers understood that whoever controls trade, taxation, and resources controls civilization itself. The Senate argued over law, but Rome's power was not in the marble halls. It was in the control of grain. He who decided when bread reached the people decided when riots began or ended. And so, the emperors learned to weaponize hunger. Money, like water, obeys gravity, and power determines what gravity means. Now look at modern empires, corporations, governments, digital platforms. They control not gold, but systems. Banking, media, data, all designed to make you believe you are free while you move precisely as they wish. Your purchases, your attention, your labor. They are all tributaries flowing into reservoirs you cannot see. They own the pipes, you own the bucket. This is the first psychological truth of money. Control the flow, not the possession. The merchant thinks he is rich because his shop overflows with goods. The ruler smiles because he can shut the merchant's gates at will. Throughout history, true power has always lived one level above wealth. Kings taxed merchants. Priests controlled kings through divine authority. Bankers later financed both and decided when wars began or ended. Every era merely replaces the costume of control, but never the principle. In your world, it is no different. The algorithm that decides what you see determines where your money goes. A platform's unseen design shapes your habits, your desires, your spending. You think you make choices. You don't. You respond to architecture. This is why power does not reveal itself. To control money silently is to control people without their resistance. A visible ruler invites rebellion, an invisible one becomes law itself. Ask yourself, when you spend, when you invest, when you work, who benefits? Whose empire do you strengthen every time you touch a screen or swipe a card? The answer is never you. You are a participant in someone else's current. Power manipulates flow through fear and reward. Governments regulate to protect you, but every rule limits where your wealth can move. Corporations give you comfort, luxury, entertainment, all designed to keep you dependent, loyal, and predictable. They do not need to seize your fortune. They simply build the road on which it travels. Psychologically, this is domination in its purest form. The powerless man measures his success by accumulation. The powerful man measures it by direction. One counts money, the other commands where it goes. That is why the rich are not the most powerful. They are the most visible. They exist to give the illusion that wealth itself equals control. But if you could trace the wires behind their empires, you would find hands they do not see, political, institutional, or ideological, quietly turning the valves of their success. Even kings have creditors. To rise above this illusion, you must learn to think like the architect, not the actor. Stop asking, how do I earn more? Start asking, who decides who earns? Study the hierarchy that defines distribution, and you will find the hidden heart of every system. In every age, those who built the flow ruled those who swam in it. Rothschild once said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." He understood what rulers, warriors, and prophets all learn eventually. To control the current is to control destiny itself. Power doesn't need to own. It only needs to regulate. The puppeteer doesn't need to touch the puppet, only the strings. And so, if you wish to rise, stop collecting coins. Learn where they move, why they move, and who commands their motion. Because once you master that invisible tide, wealth becomes your servant, not your master. The masses will continue to chase the river. The wise will reshape it. And as we proceed, remember this: those who control fear and respect can summon the current of gold without ever holding it. Gold can buy obedience for a moment, but fear and respect command it forever. Wealth makes men smile to your face. Fear makes them watch your every move. Respect makes them protect your name when you are not in the room. That is why rulers throughout history have always preferred loyalty born from awe over affection purchased with silver. Because fear and respect cannot be stolen. They must be earned or engineered. You've been told to seek love, to be liked, to win people through kindness. Yet ask yourself, do the most powerful people in history seem loved or feared? Was Caesar adored or obeyed? Was Napoleon admired or dreaded? Was Stalin respected or worshipped through terror? Power doesn't care how it's adored, only that it's remembered as inevitable. Money can purchase allegiance, but it cannot make men believe. Once your fortune fades, so does their loyalty. But when they respect you, or fear you, they remain bound to your shadow even in your absence. Look at the difference. The rich man surrounded by flatterers pays for every smile. The powerful man surrounded by silence commands every breath. That silence is not emptiness. It is gravity. Psychologically, fear and respect share the same root: recognition of dominance. One comes from the threat of consequence, the other from the weight of competence. And the master strategist knows how to blend both. Enough fear to ensure obedience, enough respect to ensure loyalty. Too much fear, and rebellion brews. Too much friendliness, and authority dissolves. Balance is the art of ruling the human animal. Even in your daily life, this law applies. If people only like you, they will use you. If they respect you, they will hesitate to cross you. If they fear losing you, they will serve you. It's not cruelty, it's leverage. The Roman legions didn't fight for gold. They fought because they feared the punishment of desertion and respected the glory of victory. Fear drove discipline. Respect fueled pride. Together, they built an empire that lasted centuries. Contrast that with modern leadership, where most seek approval rather than authority. They smile too often, apologize too quickly, and bleed influence with every attempt to appear relatable. But a ruler who needs to be liked will soon be ignored. Power commands from above, not beside. Fear and respect are invisible currencies, but they circulate deeper than any coin. They shape behavior, emotion, and even memory. You can forget a gift, but never a consequence. You can dismiss wealth, but never disregard presence. Notice how even today, people lower their voices when speaking of those who possess real power. They say, "Be careful what you say about him." That sentence is worth more than gold. It signals the existence of fear disguised as respect. And that invisible tribute protects more than any bank account ever could. To build such influence, you must learn to craft perception. You must appear capable of both kindness and destruction, but never reveal which is coming. Uncertainty breeds tension, and tension is the seed of control. The mind, when uncertain, leans toward submission. So give people just enough light to follow, and just enough darkness to fear losing it. When you walk into a room, do not seek smiles, seek silence. Silence means calculation. It means they are adjusting themselves around your presence, and when people adjust around you, you have already won. Throughout history, kings used spectacle to command awe, crowns, thrones, executions, victories. But in modern life, power hides in tone, composure, and consequence. It's not what you say, it's what others believe you could do. That potential energy, unreleased yet ever present, is the new form of fear. Respect, on the other hand, is cultivated through consistency and results. When you deliver what you promise, especially when others cannot, you create psychological dependence. People begin to believe in your inevitability, and once they believe that you cannot be replaced, they protect your position for you. Fear enforces boundaries. Respect cements legacy. Together, they build an empire that no amount of gold can buy. Ask yourself now who would defy you if your money vanished. Who would still obey? If your influence depends on wealth, you are a hostage to fortune. But if it depends on fear and respect, you command loyalty that no crisis can erase. Power thrives not on possession, but on perception, and those who learn to wield these two invisible currencies, fear and respect, rule longer than kings who ruled with gold. Remember, wealth buys comfort, but fear buys order. Respect buys time. Together, they buy the only treasure worth owning: control. And as we move to the next truth, understand this. What sustains the throne is not what you own, but what others believe you are capable of taking away. Reality bends to perception, and every throne that has ever existed, political, financial, or psychological, has been built not on what a man truly owns, but on what others believe he owns. Possession is limited. Perception is infinite. A man may have little, but if others believe he holds much, they will treat him as if he does. And that illusion alone gives him real power. The trick, then, is not to gather more, but to make others see more. This is the oldest secret of rulership. Pharaohs wore gold crowns not because they needed wealth, but because they needed belief. Their thrones were sustained not by their armies, but by the perception that they were chosen by the gods. The moment that illusion cracked, so did their empires. Ask yourself, how many people around you live not by truth, but by perception? They project strength while trembling inside. They post wealth while drowning in debt. And yet the world bows to their image, not their reality. Because perception always precedes proof. You see, power begins in the mind of others. Control what they see, and you control what they do. This is why the wise ruler manages appearances as carefully as a general manages soldiers. He crafts symbols, gestures, and moments, each designed to maintain the illusion that his authority is absolute. Caesar understood this. When he returned to Rome after his victories, he staged his triumphs with grand parades, shining armor, and cheering crowds. Even his enemies were drowned by spectacle. He knew that the man who appears invincible becomes invincible because belief multiplies his strength. Psychologically, perception governs obedience. People do not follow truth. They follow certainty. They crave someone who seems to know, who seems untouchable, who seems greater than them. And so, perception becomes the architecture of domination. You can be poor and still command the rich. If they believe you hold something they cannot, it could be knowledge, vision, or moral power. The object doesn't matter. The belief does. Consider modern politics. Most leaders today do not rule through truth, but through the management of image. Their strength lies not in their words, but in how those words are framed. A confident lie will always defeat an uncertain truth. The crowd will cheer the man who looks sure, even when he's empty inside, and that same law governs your personal life. When you walk into a room, others decide your worth within seconds, based on posture, tone, and presence. They cannot see your soul, only your performance. And in that instant, perception becomes your throne. The weak man tries to explain himself. The powerful man lets silence explain for him. Understand this, the human mind cannot separate appearance from authority. If you look certain, you become certain in their eyes. And once people treat you as powerful, you begin to feel powerful. And soon, that illusion turns into reality. This is why manipulation works so effectively. The manipulator doesn't need truth on his side. He needs confidence, consistency, and control over the narrative. He creates perception, then lets the world's psychology do the rest. Every empire begins as an illusion sustained long enough to become real. The Renaissance princes built their kingdoms on credit, deception, and display. They borrowed gold, built marble palaces, hosted festivals, and dressed like gods, until their reputation drew actual wealth to them. Their thrones were built first in imagination, then in stone. So, what do others see when they look at you? Do they see stability or hesitation, authority or need? The answer determines how they treat you, and that treatment shapes your destiny. The greatest illusion you can create is inevitability. Make others believe your success cannot be stopped, and they will unconsciously assist you in achieving it. They will lend their hands, their money, even their admiration, just to align themselves with what they perceive as unstoppable. This is how power multiplies itself, not through force, but through perception management. The king who appears secure faces fewer rebellions than the one who truly is, because rebellion begins when people believe you can fall. The game, then, is not to eliminate weakness, but to conceal it behind magnificence. Display certainty, confidence, and control, even when chaos surrounds you. For perception doesn't require truth to survive, it requires repetition and presence. And here lies the final irony: even truth must disguise itself to be believed. The masses do not seek reality, they seek the comfort of perception that feels true. So shape it, control it, wield it. Let the illusion of your authority become the foundation others build their faith upon. And once they believe, you will no longer need to convince, for power built on perception becomes indistinguishable from reality. And those who command what others see eventually command what others become. Now, as we leave the throne built on illusion, we enter the darkest truth of all. Why control itself must remain invisible to endure. Power that is seen is power that can be challenged. But power that hides behind perception, subtle, quiet, invisible, controls without resistance. The greatest rulers never command directly. They plant ideas. They shape emotion. They let others believe the choice was theirs. That is how you control people without them knowing. Not through fear or force, but through the illusion of freedom. You let them walk willingly into the cage, thinking it was a door to paradise. So ask yourself, are you shaping perception or being shaped by it? Do you move the pieces, or are you the piece being moved? Those who fail to see the game are destined to be played by it. If you found truth in these words, leave your thoughts below. Speak your mind. But understand, even that is part of the game. Subscribe for more lessons in strategy, control, and psychological power. And share this with those who believe they cannot be manipulated. Let them watch and wonder who truly holds the strings.